of all the things that women come to see me for, the one that I actually look forward to the most is, yeah, hello, Abby. When someone wants to have their diastasis recti checked and they think, oh, my abs are split down the middle. Abby, I need you to help me with this. I need to get this fixed. And I love this because I get to be Oprah. And this is why. The general sentiment out there, and it's getting better, the general sentiment out there is that women that do not aesthetically like what their abdomen looks like assume that it is diastasis recti. They assume their muffin top is diastasis recti. They assume that their afternoon bloat is diastasis recti. So they have all these assumptions that they have diastasis recti, which is the abdominal separation and lack of tensioning of the tissue that's between the rectus muscles called the linea alba. And usually with a quick dive into Dr. Google, unfortunately the first thing that comes up is no planks, no sit-ups, no this, no that, which couldn't be further from the truth. And usually if you heed that advice, I don't care if you're a couple months postpartum or a couple years postpartum, you feel very weak and you feel very delicate. And I can't tell you how many times I've been at the gym or Pilates or yoga or something like that, and they're like, oh, I can't do that, I have abdominal separation. And typically most coaches or trainers or instructors don't know anything about it. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, totally. No, oh my God, no. And I'm saying this from a place of understanding in that, A, that's what I used to tell people, and B, that's what I did myself. And guess what? It didn't work. And full credit here to Anthony Lowe, physio detective. And this was probably 2016, 2017. I forget now. And I had abdominal separation after my second. Didn't really do much because you weren't supposed to do these things. And went to a course to learn about working with female athletes, because I was starting to work with a lot more lifters and CrossFitters, and that was around the time too that CrossFit put out a video that featured an OBGYN that's like, yeah, it's totally fine to pee when you lift. No. And of course I popped up as in PT courses or classes or education, we work on each other. That's what we did in PT school. And so, of course, when they needed a volunteer for diastasis, I raised my hand. I'm like, yeah, totally me. And I popped up there, and separation's not bad. And Anthony, who's a lovely physio in Australia, he's like this gigantic, exceptionally caring human. He's like, Carrie, you're not broken. You're just weak. Translation, turn on the waterworks. And it was one of those things that I think it's one thing to say that to a client, and it's another thing to experience it. And I knew that what I was doing didn't feel right. Like there was no way in God's green earth that I was going to get stronger with what I was doing, which was nothing, because I was told I couldn't do anything. And that's what I learned. And it was one of those things where it was like, duh, of course you can do these things. This is ridiculous. And so that's why I love when clients come in with a diagnosis of diastasis recti, because I get to be Oprah. I get to give planks back. I get to give crunches back. I get to give getting out of bed and not looking like a 70-year-old woman, or 90. Let's make it 90. 70 is not that old. I get to give all those things back. And it happens in less than an hour, because usually I would say 99.44% of the time, so we're talking ivory soap kind of stuff here, the separation isn't clinical. It's not anything that I would be concerned about or need to refer out. Occasionally I might have a client with an umbilical hernia, which I have a tiny one. If it hurts, if it restricts your digestion, yes, you need to get it taken care of. it doesn't bother you and it's not sticking out, don't worry about it. So just giving women a reason not to be scared of this thing that they have convinced themselves or have been told that's really messed up. Now, usually once I get to be Oprah, it's super fun, but eventually the aesthetics question comes up. Because people don't like their muffin top, or they don't like that they bloat in the afternoon, or all sorts of things like that. That's another conversation. We'll save that for another day, because that's far more complicated than just what happened to your abdomen, or abdomen tone, or muscle tone, or stiffness, or things like that. There's a lot more things to unpack there. But all goes to say that I think the reason diastasis has gotten such press is because people want to know why their bellies look different. They don't like it. They didn't expect it. And so if there's a medical diagnosis behind it, that sounds pretty legit, right? Good news is it's not that simple, which is actually good news, which means you can go back to doing a lot of these things if you're concerned about coning or doming. That's basically if pressure's kind of looking like it's escaping outward. It looks like a little mountain. Usually there's breath strategies that you can play with to help tension the tissue, or that linea alba in between the rectus muscles. And if you don't know what the rectus muscles are, those are basically your six-pack abs. It's funny, the 10-year-old boys walking home from school are talking about their 6- and 8-pack abs and who can see whose. And I'm like, no, we all have them. Just some of us, you never saw them, and some body types you do. So anyway, I love seeing Diastasis Recti clients because, one, it's just nice to give somebody their life back if they enjoy these things and they've been avoiding it. And two, it's just a way to knock fear off the table with just some basic knowledge. So there's a lot more research to go in that. I think they're still trying to figure out why some people have more long-standing issues than others. Stay tuned. At least there is research now, but yeah, it's one of my favorite things to work with. I have trained mine. I have trained my coning and doming almost like a party trick. So I can, on demand, show people, you're about to get a dog, but here. I can do mine on demand, whether or not I can cone or dome with a particular activity, because I've played with and trained it. It's motor strategies. It's just movement strategies. Clearly, I'm boring her. Anyway, if you have questions for diastasis or any postpartum issues for that matter, always feel free to DM me. I'm happy to answer any questions. But yeah, it's one of those things that I think people talk about it because it has to do with aesthetics. Other than that, like it's a super easy, actually really fun thing to work with clients. So if you have questions, if you think you have abdominal separation, again, it's not just the gap, it's also some depth and being able to tension that linea alba. And I'll show some videos. We'll see if we can come up with some stuff this week for you guys. So if you have questions, DM me. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the gram.